Hello. Wow. Wait for my throat to clear there. But anyway, welcome folks to the last review of a Resident Evil game that I'm going to do, until the next one comes out. Or until, some other Resident Evil catches my attention and I decide, oh hey, let's take a look at it. Anyway, folks, covering the old one, the one that started it all, Resident Evil Director's Cut. See, the way it worked is I had played the original, just plain Resident Evil on the PlayStation. I played that for like a whopping 5 minutes, and then, my dad had rented that. Okay, about an hour later, he comes back and goes, hey, I got the Director's Cut. And I was like, oh, okay, why not? So, we kept the Director's Cut, returned the original because it was a rental for Blockbuster. So, I played it as Jill for the first time because my dad said that he didn't like playing as the other guy. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just play Jill. So, played Jill. My first encounter with the zombie was like an oh shit moment. I'm like, oh, this is scary. And this is the one that redefined survival horror. Although many credit Alone in the Dark for doing it, Resident Evil is the one that put it on the radar. Although that shouldn't discredit Alone in the Dark for doing what it did. Granted, I've never played it, but I've looked it up. I've read my history on like the survival horror genre because it's one of my favorite genres. Sadly, it's a genre that's dying rapidly because the two juggernauts, i.e. Silent Hill and Resident Evil, are both straying away from it. Mostly because Silent Hill has always been kind of the second follow-up to Resident Evil because it's like, whatever Resident Evil does, Silent Hill's going to do. After about 3 Silent Hills, and when Silent Hill 4 The Room came out, that's when Resident Evil started gearing towards the action orientation, such as Resident Evil 4. Konami saw the success of that and said, oh, hey, we should do that too, and sadly it hasn't been working for them, and Silent Hill's been in like this handoff deal. Sad for that franchise, but really I stopped caring after 3. But anyway, talk about Resident Evil Director's Cut, not the survival horror genre in general. This game plays well. I remember the camera angles always gave me trouble, but they play into the survival horror aspect. It's meant to, like you hear the noises of the monsters wandering around the rooms and you can't see them, so it causes you to flip your shit. And you're like, oh, I don't want to go forward. I don't want to move. I just want to wait for it to come to me. And it gives you that sense of like insecurity, especially when the zombies are all gone and the hunters start showing up. It's like, oh crap, there's these jumpy, bouncy reptile dudes that are trying to kill me. And trust me, those things just terrified the fuck out of me. So the game is pretty much set the standard for all the other Resident Evil, for the the first 4 Resident Evils, if one counts Code Veronica as part of the main canon. Because it is technically not part of the main canon, but a lot of people consider it, myself included, consider it part of the main canon. The reason I say you don't have to include it as part of the main canon is if you look at from the transition from Resident Evil 3 to Resident Evil 4, it basically picks up where 3 left off, because it just talks about the demise of Umbrella because of what happened with Raccoon City. It doesn't mention anything about Alexia or Alfred or anything like that, because it doesn't mention any of them at all. In fact, Chris doesn't even talk about his encounters with Alexia and such, and a lot of people want to consider it part of the main canon because Claire's in it. It's the last main game that she was in since forever ago. We haven't seen her in any of the main games since then, which is something that I think Capcom should think about, because we could use Jill and we could use Claire in this, and I'm really going off topic with this review. It's terrible, but it's pretty much widely recognized that I'm gonna love the shit out of the game. There's really not much I can criticize it for, even though it's graphically, it did not age well. None of the Resident Evils really aged well, but most PlayStation games don't age well or weren't gonna age well anyways. Hell, I would say the only Resident Evil that's aged well that came out in the early 2000s was the GameCube remake. That game still looks better than most Xbox 360 games and PS3 games. Just, the way it was, that was probably the most well-received Resident Evil by the hardcore fans, and, I honestly want to play it. I have never played it, and I want to so bad because it looks so fun. The problem is like I said, I may have mentioned this before or another, but I'm not a Nintendo fan. The only Nintendos I really played was up to the N64, and even then I didn't really play it that much, and that's because I was more of a PlayStation fan and doing parts of my dad, because my dad got me hooked on the PlayStation. I played Sega, and then I played, once Sega kind of got out of the console business, once the Dreamcast just kind of tanked, I became pretty much just a Sony fanboy. And then once the PS3 marketing price came out, I was like, yeah, I'm jumping ship to 360, where I've been a member ever since. Although I don't really tie myself to the 360 or the PS3, because I considered getting a PS3 on more than one occasion. But the thing is all the games that I cared about were on the 360, and all the games that, or all the games I cared about were on both platforms. So it's like buying a PS3 is just kind of dumb, because I'm not going to buy, one game for both platforms. There's no point in doing that. This game also had this was probably the only one that stayed truly survival horror, because from 2 onwards it started incorporating more action orientation, although 2 didn't really add much action to it. It just made it easier to fend enemies off, to fight them off and such, but it still had the same general survival element to it. And what I mean by that is it was generally, I want to say this one was probably the best as far as setting the standard for your ammo versus your enemy ratio, in that it gave you enough ammo to survive, to get from start to finish, if you could dodge and evade a few of the initial enemies, like the zombies, the ones that you didn't need to fight. If you've watched my Let's Play, you know what I'm talking about. That if you played on the training difficulty, okay, yeah, have fun, go blast away. But Resident Evil 2, I felt like was a little more generous with the ammo. I rarely found myself on a shortage of ammo. Even in Director's Cut, there were times, like, playing as Jill, it's impossible to have a shortage of ammo, because, you get the Magnum. I barely used the Magnum, and I had more than enough ammo. And the thing is about the last fight with the Tyrant is you don't need to shoot it even once, because, what's-his-face? Brad drops the rocket launcher after, I think 40 seconds remain on the clock, so truly and honestly, the last boss fight only lasts 40 seconds. And I think that's kind of cheap, because I figured that out. Ironically enough, I figured that out once I actually had forgotten to equip my Magnum, and I was pretty much just with my shotgun and 3 shells, so I fired a couple of rounds into him, and I'm like, crap, I didn't do enough damage. And then I'm like, oh, well, let's just, ride it out. I rode it out. Next thing, the rocket launcher dropped. I'm like, oh, shit, go for it. Went for it, killed him, beat the game. I'm like, yes! The underdog makes a comeback. And then we jump over to Resident Evil 2, where I felt like the bosses were just too easy. Even William and the T-Zombie were too easy. Although the last fight with the Tyrant, I would say, is probably the only challenging boss fight, and that's because, he's freaking Speedy Gonzalez. But, if the bosses in Resident Evil 2 would have been harder, I probably would have given it more of a favor than Resident Evil 3, because I felt like 3 just nailed it with the boss difficulty. With the Nemesis fights and such, because they're even on hard. I had played it on hard on the PlayStation, and there were a few times I did beat Nemesis, but typically, yeah, I would. Hold on. Sorry about that, folks. I accidentally spilled something. Yeah, thankfully it didn't get on the carpet. It just got all over the table. I don't know if you guys heard it, in the background or not, but it was quite a silent fall. It was just a little plastic bottle here. You can hear that. So anyway, I forgot where I was talking about. I think I was talking about boss difficulty, and that if the bosses in Resident Evil 2 were harder, I would prefer it to 3. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Because even on hard in Resident Evil 3, there were a few times that I played, Nemesis would show up, and I'd be like, okay, let me try to fight him. I'd go at it a few times. If I didn't get much progress, and I just said screw it. 9 out of 10 times, I did walk out on danger with pretty much most of my healing items used. Miraculously, though, I still managed to beat the game, and I think I fought him. I think 3 times, because I remember getting the handgun, the Eagle parts, both A and B, and then I think I remember getting one of those first aid things, and after that I just said, screw it, I'm done with this. And then the times I fought him was the police station encounter, the kitchen encounter, and then the time that you're running back to the train to get it set up, when you have all the parts and he chases you that final time before, you make the getaway from the city. But, really, there's not a lot to say about Director's Cut that hasn't already been said, and that's how it is with me in this game, is that everybody pretty much loved it. If you were a fan of survival horror, you loved it. If you got into the franchise, you loved it. But, if you're one of the people that, prefers the new ones to the old ones, well, you didn't like it, but everybody's got their opinion. That doesn't make you better than me better than you, or anything like that. It's just a difference in taste. That's all it is. But regardless, this game was critically acclaimed. It was well received. In fact, it got a remake that actually did better than the original, which is rare. You think about all the movies that have been remade that have done terrible, with the very few exceptions that did really well. Dread being one of them, which sadly did not make its budget. At least last I checked it didn't, or it didn't make really all that much money, which is sad considering that shit like fucking Resident Evil's making, millions upon millions. It's bullshit. It is, because Dread was a well-made film. It really was, and then Resident Evil was just crap. So it honestly makes you think, well, you get what you deserve as far as our movies are concerned. Obviously, we care more about the bullshit Resident Evil cranks out as opposed to the quality that Dread kicks out. And, you know, I guess the games are going down the same path. People prefer just, a brand new release, like Call of Duty. Just a brand new release. It can be the exact same game. I just want a new release. I just want the excitement of a new release. And lo and behold, you get that. And, you know, seeing Call of Duty incorporate the zombies into it, it's like, plays a lot like Resident Evil 6. Resident Evil 6 plays a lot like, it's like, you know, there is no difference. So, again, I'm seeing that light spot or that spotlight that people are throwing at it, saying, oh, it's going the Call of Duty path, especially playing Chris's scenario in 6. It is verbatim like fucking Call of Duty. But anyway, folks, that's just the quick review of Resident Evil Director's Cut. And, you know, with it being October, I think I'll cover all the survival horror games, or just the horror games in general, that I've played throughout my, you know, gaming career, which has now spanned more than 10 years. Yay! Something I've committed to and stuck with. But, yeah, I'll probably be reviewing Silent Hill 3. I can't review the original because I honestly don't remember playing it that much, because I was a lot younger when I played it, and I did not play it for very long. Silent Hill 3, though, is oddly enough, the first Silent Hill I played from start to finish. And the only reason I even had that game was because a friend of mine said he didn't want it anymore, because he said he'd been there, done that. He's like, he's getting rid of all his PlayStation 2 stuff, so he just said, here, you can have it. I'm like, okay, played it, and I was like, hey, this is kind of fun. And then, of course, I went to the Wikipedia, looked up the first one, which it's supposed to be like the direct sequel to. I guess the second one didn't really have much to do with the first one or the third one, so yeah, I got my whole, like, fill in with that. So I'm like, okay, so I know who Heather Mason is, I know who the main guy, or the father of her is, and I know why they're in Silent Hill and what her connection to Silent Hill is and all that stuff. So yeah, this has been Resident Evil Director's Cut, the review. What else? Is there anything going on with me, really? Not particularly. Well, I'm starting college courses. Yeah, college. So yeah, that'll keep me busy for a bit, although I'm only attending the class like 2 days a week. I think it's Monday and Wednesday, and it's only like an hour and a half long. So shouldn't really interfere with my video making, but actually it's going to take precedence over my video making, if anything, obviously, considering that, well, you know, I get tuition assistance, but I'm not going to get into that. There's a lot of financial crap that just kind of plays into it. It's not complicated, but it's something I don't really want to go into because it bore the crap out of you guys. Other than that, not really. I got I'm going to have Myth 2 uploaded fully tonight. It'll probably be uploaded like right after this video, the last video of it. Didn't want to upload while I was at work. Piece of crap. Suikoden 2, I'll be getting onto that one. Once I get Suikoden 2 and Myth 2 uploaded, then I'll start uploading Red Alert. And once I get Red Alert, I got the Allied campaign finished, finally. Yeah, I beat that one mission. I was like, yes, I beat it. Yeah. You know, I felt awesome, and then I realized, yeah, I'm celebrating the fact that I just wasted an hour completing like a 10-minute mission. But, what else that I was going on about that? Oh, yeah. I got the Allied campaign done, started the Soviet campaign. Soviet campaign is running smoothly, running nicely. The 5th mission, the Allies actually did kick my ass for a little bit. I was surprised by that. I was like, holy shit, you know, they're making a comeback. And then, thankfully, I pulled through in the end. I mean, it was bitter. It was close. And I was like, oh, they might kick me off the island. And if they do, I am screwed because I am broke. All I have is what I brought to this island. And thankfully, I pulled through in the end. And then all of a sudden, my harvesters arrived on the island. It's like, yeah, all right, comeback time. You know, that adrenaline rush. So, anyway, folks, that's pretty much been it. I mean, this wasn't even really a Director's Cut review. This is just random banter from me, but you know how I feel about the game. You saw my Let's Play, and you heard me give my, like, 2 cents at the end of each Let's Play about the games that I've done. Like, oh, yeah, it's a great game, and, you know, there are times when shit bugs me, and then I let you know that it bugs me. Which, you know, again, the only thing that really bothered me with this one was the camera angles, but again, the camera angles kind of play into the whole scheme of things, so it's not really something I should be complaining about. I don't know if you can hear me moving in the background there. I'm cleaning the dust off my TV, which has built itself up quite nicely. I hate dust with a passion. But anyway, folks, I've been rambling on for about 14 minutes now, and maybe about 2 minutes of it's been actually committed to the game at hand here. So I will see you all soon for whatever game I decide to review, whatever bullshit I decide to rant about, which actually I think I got a rant video I could do right quick before I kick the bucket. But anyway, this has been it for me, so see you all later.